Kusti, thank you very much. You have deep experience, of course, in the defence space around Estonia, given your previous role in the government, an instrumental role, and now, of course, leading this startup. Are you getting the funds that you need to build the technology that Europe needs to defend itself from Russia? Are the lawmakers paying attention? Is the funds flowing? Are we feeling the urgency right now?
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you for having me here first. Of course, I think these months, these weeks are the opening of the window in this generation, or even in the last 70 years. This is where the actual thought that Europe needs to start to get their act together is getting home. The actual funding, I think it's not really flooded the market yet, but this is about to come. And also we as a company need to be ready for that.
And you're using technology, off-the-shelf technology that is used for smartphones. The idea is you embed that and you build missile systems. Where are you in getting those missiles into conflict zones, into Ukraine? How far away are you from being able to deliver at quantity missile systems that Estonia and other partners need?
Well, the whole leadership team of the Frankenburg, we have spent a lot of time in the national defense, and the two problems that we have identified, the whole market has, is that the whole defense kit that the current industry manufactures is just outrageously too expensive. And that means that it's just not available at scale. And this needs to change if we really want to confront Russia, China, and other threats that might confront the free world in the future. So this is what we are doing. We're bringing air defense missiles that will be at least 10 times cheaper than the incumbents, and we're going to manufacture them at least 100 times more than the current industry have. We are actively developing this. This is where the focus of the company is, and we will be ready very, very soon.
Are the main defence contractors, the primes, are they an obstacle to you or a partner?
They're a partner, clearly. We are not alone in this market. The whole defense is the ecosystem between the governments, academia, industry, startups. Clearly, if we see growth, then it cannot only come from the primes. It comes from the primes, it comes from the incumbents, it comes from the other civilian companies moving into defense. And I think if we look at the whole ecosystem of the market, then it will need to also come from the emerging companies. And the emerging companies are startups.
Does the procurement process need to change to ensure that you get a better bite of the apple, that funds are flowing, that you get easier access to some of the contracts?
Well, it needs to change, that's clear. But I think the greatest spark for the change is actually the threat itself. If we see what happened in Ukraine, or even in Europe in the 2022, then a lot of the obstacles were removed on their own. I mean, there have been a lot of talks about US aid recently. Well, I worked in the Estonian government back then, and the things that otherwise would take 6 months, 9 months, essentially happened overnight. And the same was in Germany, France, and other countries. So I think there are no essential obstacles there right now if the necessity really hits the life.
You recently said that Ukraine possibly has about a week left if there isn't a credible plan from Europe. Where does that thinking stand right now?
I think this is a very grim time for Ukraine, very grim times for European security. And essentially it gets down to a bottom line, a very simple principles. If Russians walk away from this war with gained territories, with no security guarantees for Ukraine, US off the Ukraine soil and also, well, potentially lighter impact in Europe, then they have won. There is zero European governments who can go back to their people saying that Ukraine somehow won the war, and I don't know how the Ukrainian leadership would
Why are you convinced, because you've been pushing this for a long time, why are you convinced that Russia poses a broader threat to Europe? Why is Russia not done with territorial gains and a buffer zone in Ukraine?
Well, Russia has made no secret out of that. They issued their paperwork at the end of 21 for NATO and for the US, where they articulated their demands in 6 or 8 papers with 30 different points what they really want to do. And they all got down to the point that the European security architecture needs to move back where it was when the Cold War collapsed, essentially at the borders of 97, where the NATO started to expand themselves. It has the arms control, the weapons positioning, the restrictions for access to the Baltic Sea, and many, many other points that all will basically dilute the collective defense in Europe. And this is their intent. I mean, this is what they have made public. And this is what they are fighting for in Ukraine. And they are making this clear every single day, that the root causes for them is not Ukraine, but the whole NATO expansion. And this is what we need to confront.
What are the main defense gaps that Europe has right now versus Russia?
Well, I think there are no categories where we are not lacking. We need to move at least 10 times faster, and the scale needs to be better in shells, missiles, armored vehicles, communications everywhere. I mean, we are at the brink of the, well, I wouldn't say collapse, but this was really the last wake-up call, and the only solution will be described in euro figures. I mean, there is no other way how we can solve it.
Is the funding that's been pledged from Germany, from the EU, from von der Leyen, is that enough?
I mean, these are very, very serious numbers. 800 billion from the EU, up to 400, 500 billion from Germany. I mean, this is the almost 8 times the annual budget for Germany, 2.5 times for the whole defense expenditure of Europe. So, I mean, they're very serious numbers. The only issue with those numbers is that they are not at the account yet. They were at the beginning of the process. But the strategic aim or the strategic bracketing is right.